So again, if you would have a very precious piece of wood, which sometimes you might have, see whether that goes into that chuck. Probably not. If you have a very precious piece of wood and it's not much, you can use the trick I used this morning on putting glue blocks on both sides, right? So then you use less of the wood. But here I'm just using the conventional methods of putting this in between centers, get the tenons on both sides, break the bottom and the top, and make the top fit. Right? So, because we have seen that other one already. And I will also introduce at least one more technique to hollow end grain. And we might need to get into jam checking, which is always an interesting topic. Center finders are good for these things if your piece is nice and square sawn. If it's not, then you make sometimes more damage with a center finder than if you go across the edges. Kind of a shame, no off-center right now. We have done a few times roughing already, so I will speed up a bit on that and focus really more, slow down once I get to the open. Typically, when you put end grain between centers, after a while the wood releases stress, and so the two centers move inside. So it's normal that once you're rough, that you have to adjust the tailstock. Another way to get nice dovetail tenons is with the skew. And to make a choice, I don't need a very, I mean, this is tons of wood for what I anticipate, so I might just not use all the wood at all. So maybe that part will be my top, that will be the base. Not that I screw up here. Nope, that will be fine. So just parting it off. I haven't used this parting tool today, so I'm using remember the saw blade from this morning to show you it actually works. It's just not having in my toolbox. So you can use it in the same fashion. And here you could go through. That is not a problem to go through. But I sometimes just like to use the saw in the end. Release the pressure a bit. And no, first the top, then the base. If you have a chance, get tenons that are close to just opening angle. That I think the most important part, other than it's a better fit on the jaws, that I don't think is that critical. But really, the jaws are inside, gives you more safety in using the tool on the rest of the wood. Don't need that anymore. So before I start doing something, just wanna. Sorry, camera. Okay, just a couple of measurements. Goes with my wing. It has to fit in here. So that's what I want. And at the moment, I want to have a very simple top. Just comes out of the ring, gets a little up straight and parallel, and then turns, and it gets curvature. So I do have quite a bit to no fancy top for this one. I'm down to one pencil. I almost lose my second bet. So this one is too wide. Just like that. Actually, it's smarter to do it like this. So I know, I'm using the trick of friction for this. So meaning, sometimes you don't want to have to do that, but because you want to have really a clean, not burned top. I'm sort of taking away of that a bit and get myself an idea where the opening is. I made just a cone that is less than the center, so I have an indication here where the opening would be, and that helps me right away. I want to be. Okay. So now. I could be still wrong, and so stay to be outside or on the conservative side. And maybe also get a good shoulder cut here. And this is trial and error. There's not much you can do. That's a matter of, it's a really hard wood I had. There's no excuse that it isn't tight in the jaw. So I was not careful enough there. Slight off center. So let's do that trick. So when I re-put it into the jaws, it was not quite center. Not that it's a problem, because I still have room here, but just in case that happens to you once, you bring the two wrists very close, and see that it's close, and basically see where in which side the wood swings, and take half of that out. See, just by that little adjustment, I got back. But there is play in there. I wonder where that is. That should not be. And that's not... That's the adapter. Could be, yeah. There's some screws in that adapter. So let's see when we open, maybe they got loose. Ha! That was the trick. So the adapter became loose after a while. Okay. All right. There were a couple of more exceptions than what I thought. Now it's not nice. You always have to be careful. You still have a little bit of room to play. Maybe that's just enough. It could be that I have a bad fit now. No, please not, please not. No. Woohoo! Just that was more lucky than what I thought. So now we're at this stage. I would think the ball gout would be a too rough tool to use. So spindle gouge is a better tool to use, and sharp spindle gouge are even better one. Alternative would be the skew, but many of you might not use the skew, so I'm using a tool that many of you have access to. Even Richard Ruffin, the master of the boxes, stops and then checks. There's no way you get around that. So it sits on. Now I'm checking on the other side whether it goes all the way in there. No, it looks like, because I know this is nice and parallel, it looks like I have a small cone in here. And so I'm not touching the outside anymore. I'm just taking away that cone. I can see on the other side whether I'm in. No, I'm not quite in, so a little more. The difference between a good fit and a very loose fit is very small. Is that fair for all the box makers? Yeah, so this is not quite a good fit. This is too tight. That is a good fit. Right, it's maybe a little bit tight, but I'm work with that. All right, so now see how far that stands out. This is how far the tenon sits into the ring, and so I'm rounding off on that side. Maybe it's a good time to get myself space. One of the ways to get yourself space is just with the parting tool. So I get myself space right here, and then I go with whatever bowl gouge or spindle gouge in there. Yeah. So parting tool, if you have not used that before, nice to have it with a sharp one, but you bring it down, handle low, you bring up the handle until you see, oh, there are shavings coming. That's a good point. Now I'm going into an arc inside the wood. So I'm still bringing the handle up, but not quite as fast anymore, and also drive this into the wood. When I say drive, it's a too much harder expression for what I actually do. So again, find the shavings. And the pressure is not so much on the wood as it is on the tool rest. So the thumb is just, you see, on the tool rest, not so much in the wood. All what I need is space. no one told me I should hollow the inside first. So I forgot to hollow the inside first, but I'm still okay. But I should do that. So a top typically is hollow. So I'm gonna do that. Still have an inch there, so it should be relatively safe. Definitely something I forgot. I should have done that before I took out the. The vibration comes because the tool has a thin diameter and it's far away from the tool rest, so you change it by a bigger tool, bring the tool rest closer. I do that, but I also want to have an indication so how wide I want to have that rim, and maybe just something about that. Yeah, I do number 2 of the hollowing techniques, and that's in this case I use a bowl gouge. Some people prefer bowl gouge because it's an easier tool to use than the spindle gouge. It's not quite as aggressive, not quite as fast, but it does, for most parts, the same job. And it does a fairly good job at the end grain, so at the base, but it doesn't really do a very good job on the sides. So this is what's called an easy wood square round cutter, and so I'm not touching the end grain, I'm just touching the sides here, the end grain on the side. So just something like that, and that would give me a second method of hollowing. And now in the next part, I want to make sure that I'm okay if I don't get constant thickness. That I'm okay with for the lid, but I'm not okay if the thickness really becomes very, very large. So I want to avoid that. So you can have all sorts of calipers for that, but this is my hi-fi caliper. I often go just for these boxes. Just a piece of wire that is bent such that I'm wider than my widest part, because I only want to have one side touching, not the other side. Okay. It's probably too thick. Yeah, it's way too thick. So I might, because I like that outside more like the inside, I just do the inside a little more than that. So you can, I have the choice to change the outside or the inside, but I want to have the top coming outside the ring. I want to have the top continuing the base shape and then round off, rather than round off right away. So I like that part more than like the inside, so I'm going to hollow the inside a little further. Twist is too low. Better. So this is probably better. Let's see that. Yeah, and now I'll get around. Now I have to just change the shape. Well, that's pretty good. Change the shape a little bit here in the center. That's probably good enough for the sky of that, but I need to have more space down here. Yeah, I'm very happy with that. Maybe just a bit more at the very center. So bring down that center. Now I'm gonna see when I want to reverse chuck that. That's a decision I have to make now, because either I can still have enough room and I can sort of wiggle myself through. Maybe I do that, and or reverse chuck it and then do it properly. I think I wiggle myself through, and on the base I do it properly. So then at least you have seen both methods. So I need more space, and I can do that by parting tool. Yeah, maybe do it like this. Not a good angle to cut, right? The way I'm sitting here. Right. Just bring that tool rest lower. Before I go thinner, I do more final cuts with this. And every tool has its final thickness. So that's a detail gouge, similar like a spindle gouge, just has a more acute angle. Can you see anything here? Or is the camera is not that you can see there, right? Sure, I'm gonna take that off quickly. You're not bothered by that. Still way too thick. No, so sanding would be the right time to sand now. As I say, I wiggle my way in there. Not a lot of space in there, so you sort of can get it, make it happening. Probably the end. Probably cut it off. If I cut it off with the tool, then sometimes the end grain will break out, and I just want to avoid that. So in this case, I'm just taking that as and then sand the outside. So we have that part of the top, that is okay.